know the feeling. The vocal sounds great, the guitars are sitting perfectly, but the moment the bass and kick drop in together, your mix turns into a swamp. Suddenly, the whole song sounds like it's wearing a winter coat indoors. So you try to fix it. You turn up the kick. Then the bass gets lost, so you turn up the bass. Your speakers aren't giving you that chest-hitting punch, so you reach for the low EQ knob and boost the bottom. In about 5 seconds, the mix collapses. We're going to stop that loop right now. By the end of this, you will know exactly how to transform a clashing, muddy low end into a tight, controlled groove. You don't need specialized gear to do this. You just need your standard digital audio workstation and the Practice WAV bundle linked below. Go ahead and download those files, and let's get to work. Controlling the kick and bass determines whether your record holds its shape. When the low end is managed, the vocal becomes clearer, the instruments stop fighting, and the song travels better from studio monitors to laptop speakers. Step 1 is understanding the space. Think of the low frequencies in your mix like a very small room. If the kick drum, the bass guitar, the low piano notes, and the synth pad all walk in at the same time, nobody can move. To fix this, you have to pick a king. The deepest part of frequencies only has room for one instrument at a time. If the kick owns the sub, the bass needs to sit a little higher. If the bass is the foundation, the kick needs to be shorter and tighter. They cannot both own the bottom. Once you pick your anchor, you have to clean the room. Right now, your vocals, acoustic guitars, and reverbs are carrying low-frequency rumble that adds no musical value. You can't always hear it in solo, but it is taking up valuable space. This animated UI shows your first cleanup tool in action, a high-pass filter. You apply this to those non-bass tracks. It simply rolls away the useless low energy below a chosen point, like 80 or 100 Hz. Listen to what happens when you do this across your session. The mud clears out. You suddenly have a pocket of clean headroom strictly reserved for your kick and bass to operate. Power in a mix is created through subtraction. By removing what doesn't need to be there, you give the important elements room to speak. Step 2 is arrangement. Most people immediately reach for an EQ to fix a muddy mix, but a plugin cannot fix an arrangement where instruments are musically stepping on each other. A common traffic jam happens when a bass player holds a long, sustained note, right underneath the transient impact of the kick drum. The kick tries to punch, but the bass is already occupying the exact spot it needs to land. Look at this digital audio grid showing a direct collision. That thick bass line runs straight through the kick drum's attack. Instead of compressing it, pull the bass note back. Shorten the audio so the bass stops just before the kick hits. That tiny micro gap allows the kick to punch through cleanly, completely undisturbed, before the bass drops right back in. Manipulating timing and space is more effective than forcing a plugin to untangle two overlapping sounds. Step 3 is tonal balance. A lot of mud lives in the low mids, between 150 and 300 Hz. But if you carve out too much here, the mix gets thin. Make a small, targeted EQ cut on the specific track causing the blur, leaving the warmth intact. Then you have to think about playback. If your bass tone only exists below 60 Hz, it will disappear when someone plays your song on a laptop or a smartphone speaker. You solve this by adding upper information. Running the bass through a light saturation plugin or a subtle amp simulator adds a layer of grit to the mid-range of the instrument. This chart shows how that works. Even when the small speaker drops the lowest frequencies, the ear hears those evenly spaced harmonics in the mid-range and mathematically perceives the missing bass note. A professional mix must translate. When your bass is audible across consumer devices, the groove stays intact, regardless of how the fan is listening. Now let's talk about control. Compression is not for crushing your audio, but for steadying movement. Use a medium attack and release to catch the bass notes that jump out, so the foundation stays even. You can also use sidechain compression, but keep it subtle. Setting the bass to duck just 1 or 2 decibels exactly when the kick hits is often enough to lock the rhythm together. Even with perfect EQ and compression, you may encounter phase cancellation. If your kick and bass hit at the same time, but their waves push and pull in opposite directions, they will cancel each other out. The meters will show a high level, but the bass energy will feel weak in the room. The fix is mechanical. Solo the kick and bass together and flip the polarity invert button on the bass channel. If the low end suddenly sounds thicker, your waves are now pushing together. Leave the button engaged. Finally, keep your lowest frequencies in mono. Wide sub-bass can disappear on club systems or when summed for mobile devices. Use your mono sum button to verify the foundation stays solid. Phase alignment and mono compatibility are the final checkpoints for a mix that survives playback in the real world. Compare the results using the practice files. In the before version, the bass sustains too long and the kick is buried. In the after version, the rumble is gone and the kick and bass are locked into a clear pocket. We achieved this punch without pushing the master fader. The song feels stronger because the low end is shaped, not because it's louder. Do not ask a master bus limiter to fix a messy bottom end. If you slam a muddy mix into a limiter, the kick will lose its punch and the whole song will pump in an unnatural way. Low-end control is a product of specific decisions in arrangement, tone selection, and timing. When your mix holds up in a playlist next to national releases, it represents your work as professional. That clarity allows your music to stand on its own, whether you're pitching for sync licensing or releasing directly to your fans. To learn more about mastering your sound, visit Making a Scene today.